Hey everybody, your boy Debo here in studio. If you are watching this, you're going to see an episode with Rod Farvard here in studio. Just wanted to do a quick thank you for being here. And also, this is only my second time recording something in person. And unfortunately, I screwed up and didn't make us in focus here. So the video is going to be a little bit blurry, but lesson learned. It's going to get better. There's been a lot of technological issues as I've moved into the new studio, but slowly but surely I'm figuring it out. Instead of not publishing this episode, figured I would just give you a disclaimer at the front. It's a great conversation. Rod Farvard, obviously, absolutely a legend. Unfortunately, the video is just a little bit grainy and out of focus, but combo is good. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks so much for watching/listening. Love you very much. Rod Farvard, bro. Freetrail HQ. Welcome back to the pod.
Here in Marinwood. It's kind of crazy. It's fun to be talking, not surrounding a race. So
center of the universe, buddy.
Yeah.
Here we are. We are, whatever it is, a little over 24 hours removed from the run of the year for me. You sent me a text on Saturday evening saying, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm thinking about doing this loop. Want to jump in? It was like I said, a highlight of the year for me, even though it's just sort of a run-of-the-mill everyday Sunday run for you.
Yeah, I mean, similar to me, any day you can just link up with a buddy and have those kinds of chats. Like, it flew by. It was pretty good. Yeah.
So good, dude. Yeah. Honestly, I have been euphoric ever since we finished. Like, I was just talking to you about, I feel physically smashed, but my spiritual battery is illuminated right now, which
Absolutely.
Hopefully people can see and feel here on the podcast. So thank you for doing that loop with me, man. And
of course,
sending me that
thank
text, getting my ass out of the house, off the couch to go do a big run. 23 miles in Marin.
Yeah. Ton of the classics around here too. It was really good trails. Perfect day above the clouds. It was epic.
So where are you at right now, buddy? We're winding down the 2025 season. Obviously, since you're here in the neighborhood, we thought, maybe you should come in, break in the new studio. We got to catch up for almost 4 hours yesterday. But I think we have a lot of fun things to talk about, but maybe just start with, how are you doing here at the end of 25?
Yeah, we should have just hit record yesterday, right?
It would have been an epic one. It would have been.
I'm doing pretty well. I mean, it feels like the beginning of 26 for me rather than the end of 25 right now. I'm kind of already thinking about the next season. Not without the reflection of last year, though. I mean, I think I threw a lot at the wall last year, and not a lot stuck, but I think that that alone is a good lesson. But I'm ready to take on 26 with a lot of new changes, a lot of new mentality and perspective. And yeah, I mean, no race is really on the horizon for me, but I was going to do the Pacific Trails 50K last weekend. Just kind of, something I want to change, but just felt like kind of throwing some last ditch effort to get something good on the board, which I'm trying to remove myself from doing that kind of stuff moving forward.
All right, let's come back and talk about that, because I think that is illustrative of the psychology of the athlete, something that we dissected at length on our run yesterday. I feel like that Pacific Trails race was like lining up to be one of the great late season races.
It was
of the year. Aside from yourself, who else was on the start list? Should we all lament the fact that it got canceled?
Yeah, I'm actually not entirely sure. I was
just hearing rumors.
Yeah. I know that I think Eric Lagerstrom was going to do it, right? He was probably big competition at that distance. I don't know. I saw Remy LaRue. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know who actually was going to show up, but
I think a couple of the guys who ended up running JFK like swapped out.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah,
that'll be a good one to monitor for next year down there in Santa Barbara, where we know you have a lot of history. But all right, where I want to start here, and again, a lot of this stuff is going to be derivative of the amazing conversation we had out on the trail yesterday, and beyond being able to cover 23 miles with you on a beautiful day in Marin, much of it above the fog. The highlight was just being able to catch up and just like kind of chat about everything, life, business,
Totally.
career,
Yeah.
the sport, where you're at, where I'm at. And one of the things that you said that we've sort of touched on in the couple of times we've talked this season, but not as explicitly, is just this feeling that you are on your path, and that being something that it feels like you've arrived at, in, the recent months. So maybe just to get us started on this concept of being on the path, what does that mean practically to you? How do you triangulate towards being on a path?
Yeah, it's a little woo-woo, but I don't know. I think we're all pretty predetermined to do something really well. Like maybe it's genetics, maybe it's something more spiritual. I don't exactly know, but I think it's a wash to say that anyone can be good at anything. I think everyone has a certain gift at something that with cultivation through their environment can get better and better. But I think like kind of the point of life is finding out what that thing is for you. And you're probably going to guess one thing. It's probably not going to be that thing the first time around. Probably going to guess again and still not going to be it. But I think a lot of us can resonate with just, something clicking, something feeling right, something that you're doing is having noticeable impact without you really trying and trying to make a big deal about it or something. And I think that's almost like the biggest indicator of you being on a path, is that you don't even understand the trail you're leaving behind you, and people are following, and people are feeling like can resonate that you are also, that you're doing that thing that is right for you. And I think with people seeing that, people can also smell out bullshit, and they could see when you're not doing something that you're not meant to be doing. So yeah, I mean, for me, I made a lot of changes this year with the bet that trail running for me is my path, and doing this at a full capacity is worth it, and it's worth investing a lot, almost everything into it, to see, not only how good I could be, but what more can come from something like this in my immediate community. And yeah. So.
Being on the path, to me, inherent in that by definition, then requires letting go of other things. There is a sacrifice inherent in embracing your path, right? Even if you envision it literally as being on a trail, something everybody who listens to this will be familiar with. There's always, if you're pursuing a path, a temptation to deviate at times, or to second guess whether it's the right way to go. And for you, I know that embracing this period of your life that is very special and hard, well earned, has required you to also let go of things that would have been comfortable to hang on to, whether from a status standpoint, a financial standpoint, anything else, to allow you the comfort of potential diversification and an absence of full commitment of being on a path. What were some of the things that you had to let go of to embrace the path that's right for you?
Yeah, the big one for me obviously was work and quitting my corporate job. And I think from the get-go, it felt like something that I was probably doing for other people, which is fun. Like, I think that's not really an issue. And sometimes you have no option, right? I think it's a privileged thing to say that everything I should be doing is for me, and I shouldn't really be thinking about the financial aspect of things. But, as I was able to finally make a living out of trail running, I think I owe it to myself. I owe it to the people that are investing in me to really put everything I have into it to see the type of growth I can have for both them and for myself. And yeah, I mean, that means giving up a lot of comfort and also cutting out like some relationships and saying no to a lot of things that I think generally made me feel like a more balanced, socially accepted person. But I don't think necessarily happier. Like I think that is kind of the big thing. Like I see a lot of people who are extremely comfortable, doing extremely well on the outside, and but I actually don't really think that they're doing the thing that they're meant to do. I think they fell into a lot of comfort doing it and are monetized well for it, and things are going great outwardly, but I don't actually think they're happy. And I think like only that happiness and full content comes from letting all these other things go that might provide stability and really just focusing on that thing that you were meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I said to you yesterday is that I'm proud of you for making that step at a time in your life where it would have been easy for you to continue to parallel path the corporate career where I know you were very successful and where you had already proven that you were able to balance both things, having, been on the podium of Western States while both pursuing running at a high level and carrying on a real professional career. And one of the things that you said to me, and as me being a decade older than you, I realize this now in myself and in a lot of the people who are my age who I grew up with, is that if you don't figure out your path, eventually it will show up in your life in negative ways. And the comment that you made after I made this comment of me thinking this is a really amazing move for you, and that you theoretically entering like the prime of your professional career from a work perspective, not even from a running perspective. You said, yeah, well, a lot of the guys I grew up with, when I see them, it doesn't seem like they're happy. Outwardly, as you just said, they might have all the hallmarks of status and success, but I can tell they're not on their path.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe if there's any advice you can give to listeners as to how to really tune into that intuition to sort out, really what you are meant to be doing. Because I mean, the reason it stands out so much to me is because we also pointed that magnifying glass back at me, and like, it's true of like, yeah, there have been a lot of sacrifices, but very clearly I feel like I'm on my path too. And sometimes that's the clarifying thing that you need to have in your mind when you are going through the moments of doubt, right? Is like, are you on the path? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And for me, if you take that step back, it's like, yes. For you, it's the same. For the listeners, like, how would you encourage them to tune in? Isn't it just an intuition thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of like a great point. I think it's not all going to be positive on the path. Like, just to only further the metaphor, there's ups and downs, right? On any trail, or you take a wrong turn or whatever. But I think for the most part, like when you're doing something that feels right. And I think a great way to look at it is like when you leave that thing that you're doing that you spent all the time doing in that day, are you leaving that thing with a positive mindset, with like a full cup, with that feeling of like, I can't wait to go do it again? Or are you like, I'm so glad it's over. I can't wait. It's Friday. I can't wait for the weekend. I don't want to go back on Monday. Like it's very clear the things that bring you joy and the things that you're going to do well to your fullest. And those are the things you can't wait to go back to. And so I think like if you have the option to go all in on something that really lights you up, and you are going to find the most return from that. And like it's not going to be just a stable paycheck from the get-go. But I think it only makes sense. The thing that you are meant to do is the thing you're going to do the best, and you will eventually get like compensated if you're able to stay the path for it in some other way. And I think like, I remember the first time you and I talked, Debo, you know, the final question you always ask everyone is just, who is someone that you look up to in your life, can be dead or alive or whatever. Yeah. And I did say you, and I wasn't just trying to stroke your ego, but it is because you gave up so much stability to go pursue Freetrail, because you knew that's what you needed to do for yourself, for the sport, for the community that you cared about. And like, even you and I chatting yesterday, you were very like almost upset with like where Freetrail was. Like you wanted more from where it was, but you were unable to really see the type of impact that you've had on the sport and how much the sport has grown since you started this thing, and really like how much you accomplished and everything that you wanted to do starting it. And I think that's also like a great indicator of you are on your path. It's just seeing the notable impact you've made and the people that you've changed because of it without trying. So
thank you, bro.
Yeah.
And now here we are in my backyard in a brand new studio. And it's true. Like life is like, I'm on my life's path, and I have been terrible at recognizing that. So honestly, like from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate what you said on the trail yesterday. It does mean a lot. And like, I think just for the audience, like it's more a feeling of like resenting the sacrifice element of being on the path. That's why I wanted to bring that up. Yeah. It's like, because I do feel like I never get to do what you and I did yesterday. Yeah. Like that was a core part of what I was for so many years. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I've been euphoric since we stopped our run yesterday. So to me, like really the lesson in Harmony, I talked about this yesterday. I was like, I just have to be doing that stuff. Like I have to be doing that stuff in order to not resent the sacrifice, right? Like I just need to make room for that stuff. And in fact, Nick Handel and I already planned the run next Sunday too. Amazing. So if you want to come back down. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's really important. It's like,
but I think those experiences, they only feed into what you're doing. Like, you know, these are very analogous things, and like going on a run isn't a distraction from what you're doing. It's only like our run empowered this today, which is hopefully going to help in some way grow your business. Yeah. So you know the things that you should be doing, and you know the things that are helping what is going to ultimately propel you along the path, and you know the things that you need to cut out. So
the path, purpose, but always requires sacrifice, always requires letting go of something, and there are still going to be ups and downs when you're on the path.
Absolutely.
Those are the realities. Yeah. Okay, so speaking about the year of change and being on the path, you know, really this last chapter of your life has been focused on a singular day in June at Western States. Yes, you've done many other races, but that has been really a main focus for you, if not the main focus. And, you know, as we talked about on our run yesterday, that's changing here as we look towards 2026. Talk about that thought process, the internal dialogue and I'm sure the tension inherent in that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not an easy one, definitely. Even before whatever happened last June, I think there was a feeling inside of me that made me want to take a step back from Western States. And I think that was a culmination of maybe the pressure I was feeling to win it this year. And the fact that, you know, that was going to be my 5th year in a row, like preparing for the same type of cycle. And I kind of wanted to get out of that trap. Whatever it was, like it just didn't feel the same for me this year. And I didn't like that. I think it is funny because for the 5 years leading up to that year, I always felt like I had something to prove, right? And like I felt like Western States was that place for me to prove it and establish myself in the sport. And after 2024 and after I feel like maybe I did that, I still felt like I was chasing something to prove. And I felt like it was kind of all or nothing going into this year. And now that we're heading into 2026, and after kind of experiencing those things over the summer, after also spending a summer in France and kind of getting a glimpse into how Europe views racing and what Western States means in their context too, I've understood that there's other ways to prove yourself in the sport, and there's other things to accomplish. And that doesn't mean like I don't want to go back to Western States at some point. I still think for myself that there's more to give there, whether that's a win or a faster time, whatever it is. I think there is more on the table for me there that I'm excited to eventually get to, but I need a break. Long way to say I need a break. And I really want to see what I can give at UTMB. And I don't think I've ever done that in my history there. Just the nature of doing the double, like you're for sure compromised. But it doesn't matter how good you feel. You're not hitting that block perfectly. You're leaving a lot of weeks on the table as you're transitioning from Western States type of training to racing to recovering and then hitting again. Like you're kind of starting from a low bottom and a low ceiling in the type of terrain that you're going to face in UTMB. So this year I want to take like a full mountain approach to the race and really see what we could do, and starting now, honestly, to optimize how I perform there. And yeah, it's kind of a singular focus for the year.
There's a lot I want to talk about here.
Yeah.
Maybe first, how did Tom and Ruth's performances this year maybe influence this? Because like, if we look at how it played out for them, they were all in, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't try and double, and they executed flawlessly. Yeah. Is this just the direction that things are headed? Like for an athlete to win at UTMB, is this going back to our last conversation? If you're on the path towards UTMB, is the thing that you have to sacrifice maybe something like Western States?
I mean, like I can't speak for everyone, and Katie has proven it. Courtney has proven it. Who knows if Katie was in the race, what would have happened on the women's side too? I mean, like truly, who knows? I think Ruth still 100% could have won the race, but we don't really, we don't really know what is possible. But I think before you even believe that you can do that, you need to first prove that you can do it fresh. And like, I think,
have you ever done UTMB without doing Western States before?
Never. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So this will be net new.
Yes.
And you've doubled there 3 times?
Yeah. I've doubled there 3 times. Yeah. Better every time, an hour faster every time I've done it.
That must make you think, well, how fast could I go without running Western States 8 weeks before?
100%. Yeah. I'm like, it's definitely a lot of curiosity. And I think I think after what happened to me in 2024 and that big breakthrough, I feel like in my head I was probably better than I am. And that's just like me being pretty honest. Like I feel like after I did that, I had, every race I was going to do after that, I had to win or I had to get on the podium or something. But I'm understanding that I am skipping so many steps in the process thinking of that way. Like I didn't do that overnight, and I'm not going to start winning every race overnight after that. It took 5-6 years, or you can even argue like 9 years of ultra running to finally be able to do something like that. And I'm ready for it to take 9 more years for me to finally win the races. And, and like whatever path that is, whether that's 5 more DNFs before it happens, that would absolutely suck and probably crush me, but I'm going to stay the course because I know it's possible in me. I just need to like give it the time. And step 1 is first just to do UTMB well with a fresh set of legs, with a summer fully focused, with a year fully focused it. Yeah. And then we could start talking about doing a double again. Yeah. So yeah.
Diagnosing 2025, which was your best lap at UTMB. Mm-hmm. Where's the biggest room for improvement?
Racing. I every UTMB I've been involved in has been actually minus 2023. I think maybe I stuck my nose in it well for where I was at in the sport at that time. Yeah. But I think I've always approached it very conservatively, and it's played out okay. I've moved up through fields from like 40th into the top 10 last year. But that's not where I want to be. I want to be on the podium there. I want to win that race one day. And I think what that takes is what it took at States in 2024. It was going out with a plan and believing in myself every step of the way and responding to moves. Not thinking about, how am I going to feel at mile 80? Just like if I saw Theo or Tom making a move this year, I should have gone, and I didn't give myself that. I didn't feel good enough to do it. Like pretty immediately I felt kind of fried last year, and I understood that I had to like take that day with what I was getting, after what happened at States. So I was just approaching it with a bit of fear, and it like played out well in the end, but definitely didn't give me a chance to do what I think I have the potential to do there.
9th place this year. As we're recording this is not out in the ether yet, but will be by the time the podcast goes out. We now know that Caleb Olson is not returning to Western States. Chris Myers is not returning to Western States. Drew Holman has declined his golden ticket to Western States, presumably to go for the full lap at UTMB this year. Does that kind of stuff mean anything to you? Like, we're in December 1st of 2025 right now, looking ahead towards the end of August 2026. Like, obviously we're already inferring a lot of things about the UTMB field, but does that kind of stuff percolate into your brain at this time of the year or impact the way you think about the race at all?
Not at all. Yeah. I think that's kind of a unique thing with UTMB. I think there are a lot of people that can kind of pull something off there. And there's a lot of mistakes to be made in a race like that. Not saying any of those guys just named would make any mistakes, but you could put a black mask on any of those people's faces, and it wouldn't really, like, that's how I'm approaching it. That's how I'm viewing it. If you named Killian, Jim, Matthew, Blanchard, like it would all be the same to me. I think there it's kind of more wrapping your head around like the sub 20 type of run it would take to pull something off there. And yeah, you could choose how to do that. A lot of the people you named also have never run UTMB. Like, this will be my 4th go at it. And I think everyone would agree that experience is kind of everything there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's interesting because Caleb and Chris and yourself could have easily gone back to Western States and then tried to double back. I just think there's maybe something about how Tom and Ruth approached it this year, being very quiet, even though they had solid, strong races through the winter and spring.
Yeah.
They were 100% focused on UTMB. And it looks like, that is manifesting a little bit in the Western States start list already. I'm sure Western States is still going to be absolutely world-class, as it always is, with a new cast of characters. Actually, all 10 women, all of the returning top 10 women are coming back.
That's awesome.
To Western States.
Wow.
So it'll be very interesting. But I do think that there's a little bit of a pattern here. Rod Farvard is not going to focus on Western States. He's going to focus on UTMB. I presume Caleb, Chris, Drew Holman, maybe others are the same. So we'll see how that plays out, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. You said okay, the thing you need to get better at is racing. Is racing at UTMB different materially when you're on the trail? Because when I look back at my lap, it was just insane. Mm-hmm. And this is in a previous year. Granted, it was an amazing race in 2017. That was the year. Oh yeah, I had this epiphany at UTMB. I finished 7th, and all 6 of the people in front of me had been on the podium. Or no, it was everybody in the top 10 that year had been on the UTMB podium except me at one point in their career.
Yeah.
But Francois, Killian, Tim Tollefson, Xavier, Pal Capel, Jim Walmsley, Zach Miller, Gediminas. And so that year I thought it felt like just such a different 100-mile experience in that, it's like you make a tiny mistake.
Yeah. And
you're losing 3 spots. Yeah. You're not just losing 10 minutes in a spot. You're losing 10 minutes in 4 spots or something like that,
Throughout the whole day? Or
that's what I mean is that the margin for error is so small now, and it feels like it is at UTMB especially. If you look at your 9th place performance, I don't have the splits in terms of finishing times in front of me now, but from memory, you are in and around a pack in that back half of the top 10 the entire race. There's no margin for error. There's no room to hide. There's no moment where you can take your foot off the gas and coast it in. Mm-hmm. Does it feel that accurate to you?
I think it absolutely feels that way, because especially early into the race, because there are just so many people around you. And yeah, if you stop to put on your jacket instead of putting it on while you're running, you've now lost 50 spots in the beginning of the race, which is just it's pretty hard mentally. And especially when, the race goes from double wide or road to single track all of a sudden, and it's muddy, it's slippery, it's raining, you can't really make passes. So I think that's ultimately what culminates in you losing the time. Where it's just you get stuck behind this pack, and the pack in front of you, that front pack is running away effortlessly, just because you're stuck behind a group that isn't descending quite as well.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's stuff like that.
It's
that is
so
hard to come back
than the way it used to be.
Totally. Yeah. And that is what happened to me. I was very surprised, hearing from the first split I got was in Lake Contamine, and I think I was maybe 5 minutes, maybe even less behind Tom and the front pack. And then by Courmayeur it was 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden it turned into 90 minutes at probably Triant or something like that. Yeah. And I didn't really understand what was really happening, because my foot wasn't really off the gas, but what I was doing, and I wasn't stopping really at the aid stations for very long. I think my total stoppage time was under 15 minutes or so for the whole race.
Oh.
And what was happening? I was just kind of stuck behind these packs, and I eventually made big moves around them that felt really positive and motivating. But I think having a clear path in front of you and just running a comfortable pace that you would be running is going to ultimately propel you the furthest. So that's why you can't lose the pack early on in the race. And that's why it is consequential. A lot of people are run your own race at UTMB and, just focus on completing the loop. You'll end up somewhere well, but that's not going to happen if people aren't letting you go actually run what you can time trial on that course. Yeah. So it is,
it just means that basically every decision is consequential, even going down to do you stop to put your jacket on?
Yeah.
Which comes down to, okay, well, where do I put my jacket in my pack? All 100%. Of that stuff now
and all
can
that
make
stuff,
a difference in where you place. And
yeah. And you're honestly, like, the more you think about that stuff, the more energy you're burning, it's not first of all, it's hard to think about that stuff in a race. And like, if your hands are cold, that's even harder to, to convince yourself to actually, like, okay, I need to rip that gel and actually eat it or something, like all these things compile, and then the decision making becomes really tough. And then you're like really thinking about it and really trying to decide. And that is, it costs glucose also. So it's just a downward spiral. The more you have to kind of problem solve.
And then, but on the other side, I remember talking to Ruth about this, because there's a photo of Courtney going the top of the Grand Col or the Col de Bonhomme in the middle of the night when it was freezing, basically just wearing a t-shirt. And then Ruth, who had lost a bunch of time to put on her jacket and pants.
Yeah.
Then that decision where she lost a ton of time ended up paying off in the end. So totally. This is why racing is so fascinating and so dynamic.
Yeah. But and it's arguable that Ruth got lucky in that scenario, that Courtney shut down like that. You can't guarantee that someone's going to shut down like that, especially in these races now. Yeah.
But that's like a very calculated decision on Ruth's part that could have backfired.
Absolutely.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Anyway, really, really interesting. It actually, I was planning to get to this later, but we may as well just sort of pivot to it now. Like, you were so early in this like whole carb conversation. I feel like, the sport is just really progressing in such interesting ways. And a lot of the conversation that came out of UTMB is about, the fatigue resistance, the weight vests, the PhD data scientists making the split sheet that you can sort of like really create a targeted pace strategy for yourself. What are your thoughts on this new emergent trend, any of those emergent trends, and how they might apply to yourself or more generally in the sport?
I think, I think the most general answer I could give to that is, you are not Tom Evans, and you are not Ruth Croft, and you are not me. You're not Debo. You are your own person. And the more you just try to follow what other people are doing, you're going to pick up some things that work for you along the way. And then you're going to pick up things that just aren't meant for you and are causing you more stress and are actually probably maybe negative for your gut or something. Like none of this is standardized, but it is important that you actually research this stuff and look at what the pros are doing and look at the science yourself, outsource to people that are smarter than you about certain topics. I think there's a lot to learn in endurance sports, and there's a lot to test on yourself. But I was totally siloed into this concept of doing everything, that the science says in order to prepare for Western States. And ultimately, like, all that, I think, backfired on me. Like, I think last year I did too much heat training. I think it was just like way too big of a stress on my body. I think I was trying to push carbs too hard, and ultimately I was just exploding out of both ends at States. And and
it's sort of this idea of like, okay, you find the thing that works, but at a certain point there's diminishing returns.
Yeah.
It's like, more is not always better.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to focus on one thing, introduce one stressor or one new concept at a time to your body. So first, at least you can see if it's that thing that is making you better. If you're doing a ton of things at once, you don't know which of the things your body's actually responding to and which things maybe you're not. So you need these introduction phases. You need to study what the positive gain is from this, and if it's something worth pursuing further. If it's not, like, get rid of any added stressors and just focus on the training and train as hard as you can, recover as hard as you can, and optimize that new, like, adaptive thing that is working well for you. to introduce fatigue resistance, to introduce high carb, to introduce heat, all like at the same time, I don't think your body is going to respond well from that. I don't think you're going to recover well from all that. But it is all interesting stuff, and I'm into it, and like I want to see what gains I can make in any place. And I think like what I need to remember is to, back to like what I was saying earlier, is to not skip steps in my process. And it's not about how much better I get from this thing in a single year. That would be awesome. It feels like that's what carbs did for me in 2024, but that's just like a naive way to look at it. I think I need to look at the big picture on things that I've done, experiments I've run on myself, training that I've put in, and realize that this is a really, really long experiment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's the running and it's the performance that you're into, as we've established. One of the things we spent a lot of time yesterday also just kind of talking about the behind the scenes of the sport, a lot of the stuff not suitable for, public conversation, but, just like, for me, it's illuminating to see a person like yourself, 30 years old, prime of your career now. Like, what does it take to be a pro? And there's certain things I know you're disillusioned with. I think it would be fun to maybe just kind of like talk about, it is a business now. That was one of the themes of our conversation, is like, this is business now. For me, it is. For you, it is.
Yeah.
And so like, how do we maintain a feeling like we're enjoying what we're doing and we're on our path, while also, acknowledging the fact that it is more than just a passion project? One of the comments you made, for example, is like, I'm not a content creator. I hate the game in that way.
Yeah.
Expand on that.
On specifically the content part, or
just like the trappings of being a pro right now. Like,
okay.
Like, yes, you are on your path right now.
Yeah.
Right? But like, what's annoying about it? What do people not understand about it?
Yeah. From using a business analogy, I mean, it's like you finally go public, right? That's like a big milestone, but now you answer to shareholders and SEC filings. There's a lot more eyes on you to comply. But it's all positive, right? Like, money is coming in from that, and you're able to pursue the path that you more or less want to pursue. You do need to make people happy along the way. But I think in the running world, going pro, I think this is why it's incredibly important to align with partners that have the same vision as you. Like, don't just go for the contract that's the biggest, or don't just go for whoever will sign you. And I think like the best advice I've ever gotten was from Zach Miller, and I think I've said this on another podcast too. But he told me to wait when I was starting to get offers, and he told me, if you're getting them now, you're going to get them later, and you're just starting to hit your stride with things, and like, you're only going to be better. The offers are only going to get better, and you're going to find the partner that you best align with. And ultimately, like, hopefully there's always going to be conflict, but hopefully you are signing with the sponsor that wants you to accomplish the same goals as you want to accomplish. And a lot of brands push you towards certain races. They incentivize certain races more than others. And I think that's like a great indicator of, are they right for you? Like, are these the races that you want to be winning, and are they paying you out for them? If the answer is yes, like, you guys are currently aligned on what you should be doing. Obviously things change, and like, maybe you all of a sudden have this idea to do a certain race somewhere else. I think being able to have like this open dialogue around that, and being able to negotiate for yourself and be able to pitch to the partner how this will also like boost their brand. Like, if they're open to having these conversations, they're also a good partner. If they're immediately shutting you down, then I think that's something to consider too. But at the end of the day, like you shouldn't feel like you're working for your sponsor. Your sponsor, I think, should feel like they're working for you. And they benefit along the way of you accomplishing your goals. Yeah.
What about the public facing part of it? It feels like that's an exhausting component of your career. The posting, I mean.
Yeah.
Like, is this something that is felt by many of your contemporaries at this point of just like, gotta be relevant, gotta be posting, gotta be pumping product, whatever. And like, it's practically because you mentioned this also, it's like you actually proactively will then in dialogue with your partners be like, hey, this is the kind of stuff I'm not comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had this conversation with other pros. I think there are some people that are really good at it and can be authentic with it.
Totally.
And I envy those people,
Me too.
like I wish I honestly, like, there's some content I look at and I absolutely cringe at. And then there's other content I look at and I'm like, man, they did a great job and this feels super real. I wish I knew how to do that. And, I don't know. It's just not me, man. And I think brands also respect that. And like, if they don't respect that, that's not a brand I want to be with, I think, ultimately. And those decisions like kind of suck because they're paying you, like, you're doing this full time. You want to make a living off of it. And if you have to say no to a brand because you're not feeling authentic, and if the ask is really just to make a post, it's like, all right, like, why don't I just shut up and do it? But I don't know. When you're doing something that's inauthentic, and I think maybe like now that I'm talking about this, it's like, well, if I actually feel inauthentic pumping this product, why am I using this product?
Yeah.
And I don't actually think that's it. I think it's more of an insecurity around like of just posting, there's a lot of eyes on it. There's a lot of likes on it. And like, there's all this stuff that you're thinking about in your head when you throw something out in the ether. And it's like, did I do a good job with it? And I think I hate all of those nerves that come with it, and probably what like limits me more, which is probably something I need to work on more, because at the end of the day, it is part of the job. But everyone who I've talked to brand wise, I have vocalized this too. They have all respected how I feel. And I think, it's not black and white, like Instagram post, Instagram reel, like that's how you engage with your audience. I think there's other ways to do it. And I think I do that in other ways. And I think they still see value in me as a partner pushing what, they're trying to sell. Also. So
this is popping into my head, but like, I don't have Caleb Olson's Instagram in front of me, but obviously follow him there. And I subscribe to his newsletter, and I feel like he probably posts as much or more on his newsletter. So it's almost like, find the mode where you can authentically like tell your story in a way that doesn't feel cringe.
100%.
Can feel like it comes from a place of originality of like, this is my experience. Right. And there are so many of those tools now. So it is interesting though, because like so much of the pro athlete's career has nothing to do with being on the podium of Western States and UTMB anymore.
I think I agree I think all of that stuff plays a big role in your contracts. And, they are, almost every contract you have, even if like verbally you're agreeing with, the person you're negotiating with that, hey, I'm not really the person that's going to post. And they're like, that's totally fine. You will still find a contract in front of you that's saying X amount of posts per year, per month, per quarter or something, like they honestly can't really like leave that kind of thing out.
Totally.
But I don't think that's actually that huge. I think if you're actually doing what you're getting signed to do, that is to win races with your brand's product, and the rest speaks for itself. And the brands are getting good enough that they're making content out of that now.
That's true.
I think I don't know. I think about myself is looking at my phone, looking at Instagram. I could totally sniff out something that is inauthentic and something that is actually like getting my attention. And I think most people can align with that. I think like all of a sudden, like athletes are getting tied into this, like they're being used as influencers, right? Mm-hmm. But like a brand established enough should have its own budget for influencers to do that kind of stuff, and athletes to just perform, you know, and that's how it should be. And if you want a paid partnership, that's different than being sponsored by a brand too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Fun convo.
Yeah.
Let's pivot and talk about the JMT.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just reread again, like speaking of Caleb, you're also like, I gave you shit, I think at Western States about saying, oh, dude, you got to move to Substack, this blog. It's like, how can I get over to your website? I need you to come straight to my inbox.
Okay. So this is actually just because you brought that up. The reason why I haven't is because of that insecurity around the likes and like being able to view who has now it's turning into like a game of like how many views are you getting, who's reading your stuff, who's commenting on your stuff, and
it's
stuff like that.
Easier to not look at that stuff though. With newsletters, like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but I know I probably would, you know, versus like having this tried and true Squarespace domain that people have to actually navigate to, and I'm not making them see it. I think.
I always link to your stuff from our newsletter. So they can just subscribe to our newsletter and they'll get yours. Yeah.
Thanks.
They'll get your blog. Yeah.
That's fine with me. But as long as I'm not pushing it, I know that people are reading it because they want to read it. Yeah. And that makes me like way more comfortable putting stuff out in there. Either. Right. Yeah.
Well, I just reread your blog about the JMT. It's a beautiful read. I'll make sure to link to it so people can go check it out. The first sentence I just copy and pasted here on my doc. It says, only in I don't know if this was the first sentence, but it was early in the post. You said, only in a 200+ mile effort can something go from fuck, I'm on one to, oh my God, I'm going to fucking die out here. Yeah. At least 50 times over.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to go through the entire 200 mile journey on the JMT, but I think from my perspective, it'd be interesting to just hear you talk about like why that became sort of like the late season objective for you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it didn't go great. I know there was a lot of learnings that we can get into a little bit, but like what made you want to chase that thing after UTMB this year?
Yeah, it's on my mind every year. I will say, it's the whole reason. If you guys end up reading the blog, I kind of write about it a little bit, but it is like ultimately what brought me to Mammoth. Back in 2021, the year after COVID, you know, races canceled. Things were kind of taken off in the FKT space that year, and I was always like super fascinated with the trail, and I remember seeing Francois get the record and thinking it was absolutely mind blowing in 2017. And that COVID summer of 2020, I was going from San Francisco to the Eastern Sierra almost every weekend, and it definitely like developed my love for it. I had this idea that, you know, I could run it. And I didn't think I had any chance of getting Francois' record, so I went for the other direction, which actually didn't have a support FKT on the website. So that summer 2021, moved out to Mammoth, was going to be just like a short stint, but really just like fell in love with the community and the space and everything. Ended up running the trail, finished in like 3.5-ish days, a little bit over from north to south. And since then, I've been like pretty obsessed with it, and knew that I could always do it like way faster. Like that was an absolute amateur hour attempt, and went through so many mistakes and highs and lows. But definitely developed a love for it. So every year since then, since 2021, it's been on my mind, and things just haven't really worked out with racing and just like how the body was doing with permits, all that. So this year, early 2025, I actually like ended up putting it on my calendar and tried to keep like fall open for that kind of thing, not adding more races post UTMB. And I was going to be in Europe all summer this summer, so it felt like an awesome introduction back to being home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so things lined up, and other friends were going out for big FKTs in the fall in September, and that got me even more hyped. So I ended up, just lacing up, going for it with not much prep, some very last minute support from my wonderful friends who all came out. But that strategy proved to be pretty also amateur hour,
especially compared to Francois.
Yeah,
which I want to talk about in a second.
Yeah, so it didn't go great, but learned a lot, and I think for the prep, it actually went pretty well. Like, what more could I ask for?
You said you recovered like a champion
somehow. Yeah. Sent it up to Andy Cochran's wedding the day after. So,
I mean, it's like whatever, 90 miles on the Western States course, a full UTMB lap, plus 200 miles on the JMT. The base is strong for 2026.
Definitely.
The base is strong.
Yeah.
Is Francois' FKT, I was just thinking about this, is this like his record on the JMT, which he set in 2017? He took 12 hours off Lior Pantelot's supported time. Did it in a totally different fashion, we should say. We can get into that, but to me, I'm like thinking, is that like the most out there record in the sport right now? Because you can think about, all right, Carpenter's record went down at Leadville. Carpenter's record went down Pikes Peak Ascent.
Yeah.
And Trayson's record vanquished at Leadville. Still have Jim O'Brien's record from the 80s at Angeles Crest. But like, is Francois' record on the JMT, is that like the most out there thing right now? That would be the hardest to get?
Like in racing and FKT?
Of course. I mean, it would have to be in this case.
Oh man, that'd be interesting to look at a little bit.
Come close?
That's the thing. Like, it seems like not a lot of people have tried to even go for it, from south to north like that since. A lot of people have gone north to south since and have gotten close to breaking 3 days, but his record is well under 3 days. He's the only person to go under 3 days in either direction. I think a lot of people are capable. It's just kind of like interesting why people don't come out to the JMT. There's like the whole Whitney permit situation. That's not the easiest.
Dude, it's hard to get to.
Yeah.
We should say, so for the audience here, Rod sent me a text before you went for it, saying, hey, I'm going for this in like a couple weeks. I need help on these sections, and you sent me like a screen cap of this beautiful spreadsheet that you had constructed.
Yeah.
And even to pace it, it's like insane. It's
big
like,
days.
Here's it's like a 20-mile approach, and then we're doing this 30-mile stretch, and then it's a 15-mile exit, all in, total 50 plus miles.
Totally. Pacers are doing like 100K days.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So, but this is part of like what made Francois' record so insanely stout is the style in which he did it, which was effectively chaperoned.
Yeah.
And for those who read your blog, they can read more about like your learnings about how you would approach it in the future. And that's part of the reason why I feel like it is so out there, is because like you really would need a team of a dozen people effectively with you start to finish who are all down for the cause.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because Francois came from France, right? You'd think like that's actually a big disadvantage, but he came with an absolute squad that was here for one purpose, and that was to get him the FKT. So people were ready for it. They're ready to blow themselves up out there. And they're able to line the whole thing with support. So it is a big ask getting people to come out, but the more I'm realizing this, and the more I'm like in this kind of journey, is that people want to see this stuff happen, and you got to ask for the help. And I think more people are stoked to help than you think. So Yeah.
It is funny to think about though, because like they were all on vacation. They didn't have anywhere to be. For the people you would call on, people like myself who live in the neighborhood, though it would be very hard for me to get over there, who has a family, who has a job. Like you would need a big group of people who are all like willing to basically punch out for a week. Almost.
Totally. Fun employed crew come out.
Yeah, so you need like a long runway to plan. You can't just like do UTMB and be like, all right, I'm going.
Yeah, definitely. So I am in planning stages. I think I want to. Well, probably too early to talk about this. Yeah. But like I said, it's on my mind every year. I think every year I should have a plan set up to do it. If and then like when it gets close to it, I could start thinking about it. But
we should shout out Abby Hall, who you mentioned in the post too. Has a similar sort of spiritual connection to the trail. I remember actually recording. It was one of our very earliest podcasts. Was with her shortly after she came off the JMT. People can go back in the archive.
I'll listen to that on my drive back.
But it seems like she really did, put life on hold. Come out and go the extra mile for Rod Farvard. So.
She did. It was incredible. Like that was, we talk about our run in up Tam. Like it was, man, we talked about so much out there at like, in between 11 to 6 a.m. in the pitch black. And I don't even like really remember a lot of it, but it was definitely special to share that with her.
Incredible to be a fly on the wall or whatever, a cougar in the night. It's like a Western States champion, a Western States second place finisher, just freaking moseying on the JMT in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere.
It was incredible.
What a beautiful life.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
All right. Well, keep us posted on that. Maybe let's close by just talking about this new coach situation. I think, it's in line with, I don't know, some of the stuff that we talked about of like, I don't know, I have this ongoing conversation with a friend about like what got you here won't get you there as being sort of like a life philosophy of like you achieve one level in your life, in performance, in business, with your family. And you think that the behavior patterns, the habits, the training methodologies that helped you achieve those results, you can just continue copy pasting year over year and you're only going to continue going to the moon. But eventually you come around to this idea of like, actually the thing that got me to this point is sort of the thing that I have to let go of in order to continue down my path. If that is your prompt, I'd love to hear just like the thought process that went into deciding it was the right time to make a transition and who was leading the construction of your training program in 26 and beyond.
Yeah. So after UTMB, I did make a decision to change coaches. I was working with my last coach, Matt Eisen, for 9 years at that point. And ultimately it was just, it was really just the thought process of realizing that I was changing a lot of things and I was investing a lot into this. And it was just I wanted hard to put this into words, but it's hard to put this into words because Matt didn't do anything wrong, I think he's gotten me this far, which is way farther than I ever thought I would make it. And obviously a coach is just a small part in it, but he believed in me every step of the way. He was willing to adjust things. He really learned me as a person and the things that I respond well to, the stressors in my life, the type of person I am outside of running too, and was able to culminate all that. And I think I'm at this point now where there's nothing else on my mind than to see how good I can get. And I think I'm making all these other changes in my life. Maybe I should change the approach to the sport as well. And for the longest time, Matt and I, our relationship, and I enjoyed this aspect of it. It was trial and error. And Matt didn't coach like a lot of other elite ultra runners at my level, at least. So a lot of it was experimenting with me. Mm-hmm. And I think I want to take this approach now where the results are there already. There is like a process in place already to achieve wins at these races that I'm targeting. And obviously with application to me as a person, because everyone is a little bit different, I would like to use those frameworks to get to that place myself too. So ultimately I want to put a lot of the guessing work out of the training and a lot of the trial and error out of it, and go with a coach that has had proven success at some of these races. Someone also who, I know a lot about. I've listened to the podcast, read the book, and have always followed closely, and work with athletes that I'm friends with and have seen have success. So I am working with Jason Coop now. We just started together at the beginning of this month, so we're in our first kind of block and phase together. And it feels like, and maybe this will change over time, but it just feels like a very professional relationship. Like I'm sure we'll become friends, but the friendship isn't the basis of our coaching, which I kind of felt like with Matt, it was a lot of. And I think that's just how I want to approach my career and the sport now. It's just like obviously I still want it to be fun, but I want it to be as professional as possible too.
Business.
So, business. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, dude, it's a time of change, not only in your life and in your career, but actually on planet Earth. 25 turns to 26. We're all sort of in this period of rest, evaluating, what we've done well, what we could do better, looking towards the future, setting big goals on the calendar. Aside from UTMB, maybe in closing, you could just share with the people what else is on your mind, maybe building towards that major goal.
Yeah, I think, everything's in flux, but I do want a more mountain type of year for myself. So I think I'll be going out to Madeira, Island Ultra Trail, 120K. And then in June, thinking Andorra by UTMB, the 105K. And then UTMB. So pretty lean year, but very intentional. And then we'll see about a JMT effort at the end of the year too.
It's just so hilarious. Is the last 2 years you've done Canyons, Western States, UTMB.
Yeah.
You're going to be racing on all three of the exact same weekends.
That's true.
But because Madeira is the same weekend as Canyons, and Andorra is the same weekend as Western States.
Close to it. It's 2 weeks prior.
Oh, it's 2 weeks. Okay,
yeah. But
it's not exactly, but more or less the same.
Yep.
The same rhythm, though with maybe a different objective.
Yeah. I think that's a good sign, right? Yeah.
Rod, thanks again for that amazing run yesterday, dude.
Yeah, dude. Anytime I'm in town, let's do
next time we're bringing the microphone so we can record the entire thing.
We might get canceled, but
I appreciate you coming back in studio to do a little debrief. I hope you have a safe trip back to Mammoth.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, definitely.